Hello, friends. I am Carrie Jellick, the artist behind Carrie Jellick Artist, and I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce myself and to give you kind of a background of what I've done and where things are at right now. If you've been around for any length of time, which there aren't very many of you, I started doing this from a very different direction. I had wanted to be a very how to do things, how to write, how to kind of person. And as I have gone in this journey and move forward, I've decided that's not really the direction I want to go. So I've just finished transferring to a new website, which I'm really excited about. It's still at carriejellick.com. But I'm over at Weebly instead of WordPress, and most of my content is not moving with me, actually, which is kind of strange for a content creator to do. But it's really because I want to go in a different direction. I don't want to be a how-toer kind of person because, frankly, I don't have enough experience in anything to actually tell somebody else how to do this. So I just wanted to, I just really wanted to say hello and welcome to this channel, and to kind of give you a background on some of the things that I have done and show you a couple of the things that I have, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up next. So here we go. I am actually a 4-time published author. These are all anthologies, which is just collections of stories by various writers. And this is my first anthology, Heart of a Child. It may look backwards to you, but it does say Heart of a Child. And I have my very first short story that I ever wrote is in here, which was really fun to write because I got to play with a very interesting concept called the unreliable narrator. And it's a really fun little story about a boy named Carlos. So you can find this on Amazon. I don't have any affiliate links for that. That book is not part of the affiliate program, but you could certainly still buy it. And all of the proceeds do go to support a nonprofit. Children of the Nations is this one. And all of the Author's Tale anthologies, the proceeds go to support various nonprofits and things. So that was my first one. The second one I was published in is called Ink Dreams. And this one, I got to play around with a story that I had a very interesting idea for when a prompt really started working inside my brain. Like, how in the world would this work? So it's about a girl named Eve, and that her mom shares some very interesting news with Eve as her mom's about to die. And so this one you can also get on Amazon. If you go to my website, there I actually do have an affiliate link. I can actually put that link below too if you're interested in getting this. The third anthology I was published in was actually this one, And Man Grew Proud, from Zombie Pirate Publishing. And I have the very last story in here. They saved the best for last, clearly. And this is the longest story I had successfully written up to this time. And it's like it says, a novelette. So it's, what is it, like 50-ish pages, I think. Something to that effect. And I really enjoyed this. It's a dystopian story set in Fargo, North Dakota, which there aren't a whole lot of those. And yeah, I also have affiliate links for this, and I can put that below if you're interested in buying it. I also, right now, am working on taking this the story that's in here, and I'm expanding it and doing some pretty major revisions with it. And I'm going to be releasing it on my own pretty soon. I mean, pretty soon is relative. But this year is my plan. It's currently out with some readers right now, and then I will be getting it into the hands of some professional editors, and then we'll be moving forward from there. So I'm really excited about that. The last place I've been published is in an anthology, Magic We've Forgotten, and I actually have 2 stories in here. One story is an expanded and updated version of a story that I wrote when I was competing in the what is it called? The Midnight Writers Short Story Contest or something that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I should have written that down before I started this. But it was a writing contest, and I did not win, clearly. But I did take this story, and we worked on it and made it better and got it in this anthology. And the other story, I actually worked alongside a little bit with the other editors of this anthology. And put a second story in here about a girl who decides that she does not want to be in a relationship anymore. So that is a pretty interesting. It was probably at that point maybe the heaviest story I'd written, but it was pretty fun to write it and to really work with that. So those are where I'm currently published. Like I said, on my website, and I can link below, are all the affiliate links if you'd like to purchase them. If you'd like to hold off on the novelette, you can subscribe to my mailing list, which you'll find on my website. And I can give you updates about how that's going. And you'll be the first to know when it's going to be ready. So that'll be super cool. The other part of this Carrie Jellick artist thing that is really going to be different from what I've been doing for the last 4 years is I'm really bringing in a lot more, or I'm actually going to be bringing in the fact that I'm also a fiber artist, which means I work with yarn. I work a lot with yarn. And so I have off to my side, which you can't see, a whole smattering of things that I have made in the past. Like, for example, I made this lovely scarf for my husband. And it's very thick and warm and cozy. It's made out of Malabrigo wool. And it's very dense, very heavy. The yarn I picked doesn't really, I wonder if I can get it to show nicely. Here we go. That looks a lot better. Has some really fun details and cabling and all of that. So that was really fun to work on for him. Another thing that I've done, again, I should have organized these, is I don't actually know how to say this correctly, but amigurumi, or basically creating characters or little like animals and things with yarn. So we have, oh my gosh, at least a dozen of octopuses of various size around our house. The kids just constantly want me to make them. I have 3 children. I should let you know that. They are 7, 5, and 7 months at this time, which of course is a constantly moving target. I also have several little dragons around the house. I had test crocheted a pattern for a friend, and that was the result. And we have, I don't know, a number of them. My nephew had asked me to make a little creature. I don't remember what it's called, but he sent me a pattern, asked if I would make it. These are the tests before I actually made the one for him, which looks a lot better than these do. So that's what happens when you're testing a pattern. You know, you just use what you have around. Some other things that I've worked on, like stuff that I've just made up. My children have, these are just Elmos, but they have these little stuffed cats and dogs, and they wanted me to make them clothes, because why doesn't your stuffed cat need a sweater? So we have some sweaters for stuffed animals that are currently on our various Elmos. I think we're only down to like 3 Elmos now. It used to be a lot more. My daughter was very, very much into Elmo when she was little. Another thing I really like to make is winter gear, because I live in North Dakota, which is essentially the polar vortex tundra. And so I have like little neck warmers for the kids, a hat that I made for my husband, which he doesn't wear because it's too small for his head, because he has an abnormally large head. And so I really should make him a new one. I just haven't yet. And then a fun little hat that I made for myself. And of course my children commandeered it. And now they are the ones who wear that hat. And another fun thing is I make little sweaters for my baby. So I have that one. And I have several of these actually, but these are the only ones I could find in his drawer quickly because he was right after I was putting him down for his nap. I'm like trying to grab stuff out of his room to show you. These are pants that I made. I sewed them and they currently have a gigantic hole in them, which I need to fix. And I do dabble in sewing, but I'm not as into sewing as I am into yarn. I also knit and I crochet, as perhaps you could tell. Like the little animals were crocheted. The sweaters were knit. I am working on, this is a fun piece that I'm currently working on, which the colors are super fun. Up until very recently, well, my camera keeps going in and out of focus. I'm really sorry about that. Up until very recently, I've actually been extremely afraid of natural yarn because I am not super careful about my laundry, and so I'm just always very afraid that I'm going to ruin things. So like I said, up until very recently, I've worked exclusively with acrylic yarn, which, you know, it has its purpose and it's good, and it's not, I don't know. I don't really have anything bad to say about acrylic yarn, but I do know that it's not really like environmentally friendly to make, and it's also like as it breaks down over time, that's not super great either, with microplastics and things. You can look into that if that's your thing. But lately, with my third baby, we always cloth diapered our other children. But this time around, I actually have gotten into making wool diaper covers. And so this is the first time I've ever wooled. And this one is actually fresh and clean. It smells like lavender. It just finished being washed and drying, which is kind of a process. It's not just like I can throw it in the washing machine with everything else. I have to hand wash it, and then it has to dry flat, away from moving air, away from sunlight, away from like everything. But of course I have 3 children, I have 2 dogs, and it's like, oh my gosh, where can I dry these? Fortunately, I only usually have to dry one at a time. So I have that one, and then I have this one. These are my little guys, the very first ones that I made, where I was following someone else's pattern. And because I was using a smaller gauge yarn than was called for, I decided that I would, oh, actually, I forgot about this guy. This is the very, very first one I made, and it's inside out. There we go. The very, very first one that I made, and it's got some really, really thick yarn mixed with this very much finer yarn. And this one is actually really starting to felt, which they do over time. But this one's definitely got some like felting going on. But I decided, I'm like losing my train of thought here. I decided that I didn't love this style with just where the legs were and how it was, but it's been a great nighttime diaper because it just holds a lot. Like it lanolizes really well and holds a lot of stuff in. But I actually started making my own, like wrote up my own pattern, which is currently out with some test knitters right now, 2 of them. So I'm really looking forward to their feedback. But I started making my own, where I start with a single strand of yarn, and then as we go, I get into a double strand and then triple strand yarn for like maximum movement up top and maximum protection in the wet zone. So I have really, really enjoyed this particular design, because sometimes, you know, as like if it's too thick way up top, it can get a little unruly. But yeah, so that was fun. And then this is another one that I made, and this is actually made from it's wool alpaca mix yarn, just like random mill ends. There's a fiber mill 5 miles from my house, 2 of them actually, 5 miles that direction and 5 miles that direction, which is pretty great. And I just discovered them recently, and so I bought their yarn, or I bought some yarn from them and made diapers because I was, because I've been making diapers. And this is the other hank that I bought from the yarn, or from the mill that direction. And this is 500, well, this plus these and a little bit more. These are, like, I wind these to make the legs so that I know my legs are the same length. Otherwise, I have to like count really hard and pay really close attention, and I'm not good at that. So I just make the little balls the same length, and then it works. So anyway, this is just like a random hank of yarn where she just takes all of the extra stuff from milling yarn and then winds it into a gigantic hank. And so I'm really, really excited. I think I'll get 2 diapers out of this. I'm just finishing up another one. I can show you even a work in progress here. I'm just finishing one up with, so this is, just like, and I just use random bits of yarn. So like I got this yellow and this blue from my mom. This is from the other, I had 2 hanks like this one. This is from the other one. And this is also from the other one. And then I have some alpaca, and that's from the mill this direction. And I have some wool. Sorry, I'm pointing this way. My closet is that way, and that's where I store all of my yarn right now. So I got wool and just I got the mill ends from the mill this direction. And so I have some alpaca, I have some 100% wool, I had some woolen bison, which I thought was really cool, and a few other just, very, very fun things. And in here, I also have, so these are going to be the 2 legs, but what's really fun is because it's random yarn, like this one, I gotta figure out where my camera is, looks like this, and the other leg is gonna look like this. And how fun is that gonna be? The legs will be 2 completely different colors, and that will be a first because so far everything's been the same. And I actually had a little tiny bit of this blue left over, so I split that in half, and that's what I'll put on the ends, so it'll look like this one where it's got the brown and then the red, and then this one will have, these, and then the blue on the edges. So I'm really excited to finish this guy up, and then of course add it to the rotation. And I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to have so many wool diapers that can there really be too many? I don't know, probably at some point, but it's just really nice to be able to switch between all kinds of diapers and not have to worry too much about, because for a long time I actually only had these 3 for, I started wool diapering in December. So from December until like 3 weeks ago or so, I just had these 3, and it was like this constant rotation. This was always our nighttime diaper, which was really unfortunate when we get poop on it, and then I had to wash it because these are they're very thin. And so I would get a lot more compression leaks out of these than I do with, these guys that have the mega, the mega triple strand. And this one actually has, like, you could see on the inside, like how thick in some of these spots, how thick some of this yarn gets, because it's not all completely even, which is something I love. And I just love, like, the color variations. It's just how it happened, and it's so fun. So those are some of the things that that I'm working on yarn wise. And I do have all kinds of, I have a website, as I've mentioned a couple times, and I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and here, and I'm on Facebook. And I fully admit I'm not very good at social media. I try really hard, and I'm just not good at it. But I'm just going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep plugging forward, and I'm hoping that this new direction that I'm going is going to help motivate me to do more of these things and to be a lot more consistent in my social media. So what's coming up? What am I doing? Also, as you can see, we're doing some home improvement projects. I hope that hasn't been too distracting for you. I was trying to find a space in my house that would be quiet, because you never realize how loud your house is until you're trying to record something. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like there's a baby crying this direction and there's a dishwasher going in this direction. And, it's just really loud. And so I was trying to find a quiet space. And yeah, so that's, I'm just like talking. So going forward, I am, like I said, I'm working on a story that will be published this year. I have another story coming out in a different anthology with Peter Fain, who is a fantasy author, one of my favorites. And so that is in like the final editing process. The story is completely out of my hands now. It's in his team's hands. And so that will be coming. I'm not sure. I don't have a date when that's coming out, but I know that's coming out soon. I think this spring. I'm really hoping to get my story rocking and rolling soon, once I get it back from my readers, because I've made some pretty significant changes. And so I wanted to get some reader feedback before I sent it straight to editors. So I'm hoping within the next, because they have until the 1st of March, or the last day of February actually, to get their feedback to me, or I'd love it if they would do that. And then I'll go through it again, which hopefully will only take a week, because it's a shorter, it's not a novel, it's a shorter story. I would love to get through that in about a week and then sign the contract and do all of the things moving forward with that. So there's that. I also have a novel that I'm working on, and now that all of my social media is worked out, my website is finally back up and running, I'm hoping that I can devote some of the time that I had been spending on that, working on more writing on a novel. So I have two novels that are in the works right now. Both of them are fantasy novels, and I will talk more about those in the future. But those would be a goal, would be for those to be published, one next year and hopefully one the year after. If it could be sooner than that, that would be great. But as I've already mentioned, I do have 3 children and I have 2 dogs, and I stay home. Like, I'm the primary caregiver of all of the people and creatures that live here. And so I just really have limited time, especially with a 7-month-old who does take quite a bit of time to care for. But I am hoping one a year, and then I also have my own collection of short stories that it's all pulled together. It just needs some editing, and I'd love to get that out. And I also have some children's stories. So I have a lot of writing projects that are just really close to being done. But they're just, it's just that like finishing up process of, finding illustrators and how do you pay them, and, and things like that. So it's just working out some of the logistical things, because I'm not going through a traditional publishing path. I am publishing with a local publisher. My dog is outside. Sorry, she was distracting me. With a local publisher, Silver Goat Media, and the way that they do things a different way. And I am wanting to sit down with Peter and talk about that. And I'd love to get a couple, do an interview with him and get a few videos out with him, and he can explain how his publishing company works and all of that. So that's another thing I've kind of got going on, or that we have going on. So I've got a lot of like artistic plates that I'm spinning, and it's just a matter of getting them rolling. Like I said, I have a couple patterns that are out to test knitters right now, and I will be selling patterns from my website. And the other really, really fun thing I discovered recently on YouTube, how to dye your own yarn using natural materials. And this week I will be working on a video of me dyeing some cotton yarn with avocado pits, with rose petals, and potentially with a red cabbage. So that is something that's coming up, that you'll definitely want to be part of. My husband and the 2 big kids are off ice skating right now, so I'm hoping to get the first part of this video filmed while they're gone, And then, the whole like loudness thing. And then as the week goes, as I go through the process, I will be recording all of those bits and then smashing them all together in a video and getting that out. Fingers crossed next week. And then it's going to be, what do I do with the yarn? I'll probably make something with it because that would be super fun. Assuming it works and the yarn doesn't, I don't know, like explode or no, that shouldn't happen. But yeah, that is what's going on. And that's who, this is who I am in a nutshell. And I am really looking forward to this new journey. I'm probably going to take down a lot of my old videos because they just are not congruent with the direction I want to go. And if that's not something you want, if you don't really want to stick around, that's totally cool. I understand. You were here for what was going to be one thing, and I just want to go a completely different direction. So thank you. If you've made it this far, I very much appreciate it. Be sure to, if you like this, subscribe, check out my website. I have a whole section on book reviews. Those are things that are moving from the old website to the new. It's not done yet, but I'm working on it. Subscribe to my email newsletter where you'll be the first to know about a lot of things. If I have new book reviews up, things like that. And yeah, I hope that you'll stick around and that we will be able to go on this journey of learning and adventuring and exploring and creating art together. Have a great day, and I will see you guys later.